Okay. All right. Welcome, everybody. I'm Gavi. I'm head of marketing at SolidBlock. Super excited to get back into doing these webinars for everyone. So why don't you guys leave in the chat where you guys are calling in from. All right. Let me share my screen, and we're going to get started on this webinar. Great. The future of moving real estate, real world assets, which include real estate, to the blockchain. Behind the scenes look at TokenSuite. So welcome everybody. Super excited to jump into this. What we're going to be covering in this webinar today is going to be, again, how to move real estate and other real world assets to the blockchain. This webinar is going to be for asset owners and issuers. I know we have a few brokers on here as well, who have a tokenization strategy and are looking for the best way to tokenize their assets. Could be also people who know a little bit about tokenization and want to know how it's going to benefit their business, or they don't know anything about tokenization and they're looking for ways to manage their assets more efficiently and their LPs more efficiently, kind of manage the overall life cycle of asset management in a better, more efficient way. So what we're going to be talking about today, kind of on a high level, is going to be how tokenization works, kind of on a few strategies or questions you guys have. Feel free to ask. I'll get to a Q&A section where you can ask me kind of some specifics about your specific offering, how you think it, or questions you may have about how it works with regards to tokenization. We'll go through a walkthrough of TokenSuite, going through some of the features that's going on through there, and also have this very special offer at the end for people who are interested in getting onto the TokenSuite platform to start with, at least for free, as well as also the Web3 DeFi token options at the or kind of additional things that you can do with your tokens once you've done tokenization. So let's jump into this here. Will there be a copy of the presentation available after the call? Michael, if you want it, anybody who wants the presentation, feel free to email me and I will send you the presentation. So what is a security token, right? So security token is taking what is a traditional security, and it's using the blockchain to issue those digital shares of these assets, again, as tokens that people can now take custody of in the digital realm. Is essentially a miniature contract that people can hold on to. Let's say I own 1 share or 10 shares or 100 shares of this particular asset, with a full line of custody along the whole process, to be able to show who owns it, and be able to get the any benefits that would come from the ownership of that asset, as well as being able to trade it and get liquidity from, which is a real benefit of tokenization, is getting real world liquidity from these assets, and assets that normally would have a challenge you would normally have a challenge getting with. All right. So again, what are the benefits? You make your assets available digitally, access to the DeFi lending world. You're going to give your LPs more value, as well as also unlock additional and new opportunities. So the overall kind of high level process, right, of where things go is you're taking your traditional real world assets, which, realistically, it hasn't changed, for 100 years. For anyone here who's Jewish knows the story of Abraham and Hebron, knows that the same process is essentially done today as it was 3,000 years ago. You're going to haggle, you're going to grant a price, and a paper is going to be written down, and it's going to be recorded about who owns what. We're bringing this kind of the next stage of real estate ownership, where we're taking that now, we're moving the ownership to the digital realm with minting of the tokens, right? So we're going to mint those tokens, and then when people take access or get access to those tokens, they can now take out the trading platforms, they can trade it, they can also leverage it using Web3 finance to be able to get loans and use their tokens as loans, because you have these tokens which are not kind of like, I know in the past week we've had kind of everything kind of blow up in the crypto realm from the FTX space. But in this case, it's not impacted by this, because what's happening here is this is a token that's backed by a real world asset. It's got real world fundamentals behind it driving its value. It's not speculative in any way, shape, or form. It's simply a contract that's tied to a real world asset that gives you the flexibility to be able to do more with that asset. And this is a little bit about SolidBlock. SolidBlock, again, we were the first company to ever mint or do tokenization for the first property in the world, which was the St. Regis Aspen coin in St. Regis, Colorado. And until today, that those tokens are trading on T0, and investors are still getting a lot of value out of those tokens today. So on a very high level, the security token offering process works like this. So the first step is there's going to be a legal setup phase. So, so somebody has any questions about kind of strategies about how you would want to set that up. What you're going to do here is, I always say, like, block off steps 2, 3, and 4 for a second. If you're going to issue your your real world asset as a security, you're going to go through the legal process the same way you would as a regular offering, right? You're going to create a offering memorandum. You're going to create a PPM. You're going to have all the details written down and created, and you're going to create an SPV, which is an LLC that will take ownership of the asset. Now, if you have an international asset, sometimes there are securities laws which are clear in that particular country, which allows us to be able to use tokenization already as is in that country. If there is an issue, in many countries, it's not clear what the securities regulations are around security tokens. In the United States, they're 100% clear. So what we do with the asset in other places, we'll have a company in that local country that will take ownership of the asset, and then the US LLC will be created that will take ownership of that foreign company asset, and then people will buy into the US LLC. If that's not an option, then we potentially can have the US LLC take ownership of the asset straight outright, and then the US company is still what people are going to be investing in and buying tokens in. So that's kind of the first stage that has to happen. There has to be a legal setup that has to happen first to prepare the asset for a public offering. Stage 2, again, working with us, once we have the legal work in place, because everything is really driven on that PPM, is that you're going to have a project setup phase, right, where we're going to be creating an account on the TokenSuite platform. We're going to be getting everything ready for stage 3, which is the smart contract creation. And what the smart contract is essentially is taking all of the details and all the logic from your PPM and is digitizing it and putting it into a smart contract on the blockchain. So the tokens that are then managed and controlled by that smart contract, so that it's done in an automated, transparent, and immutable way for the benefit of everyone who's owning those tokens. And then, depending on the details of which regulation or details of the property or who's purchasing it, there's generally a lockup period, and after a 3 to 12 month period, then you can list those tokens on an exchange and be able to trade those on a secondary market. So what TokenSuite is the SolidBlock platform is built on top of tokenization. Now, there's a lot of tokenization companies out there. The way I kind of like to describe TokenSuite is that, with other players out there, you have to really understand blockchain to really get use of it. And a lot of people in the kind of traditional real estate space understand the benefits of real estate tokenization, but the idea of blockchain scares them, right? So we built on top of this entire thing. I was on a call with someone earlier today, and the way he explained it is like, I don't need to know how my iPhone works in order for it to work. I just know it does, right? So the same thing with TokenSuite, right? We're going to go in and I'll walk you through the walkthrough of the product in a second. But the idea behind what this product does is it's a product that's built on top of the sophisticated infrastructure in a way that both issuers and investors don't need to know the underlying technicals is. They're able to manage their business in a way that makes sense and is simple for them, so that they are able to make the best decisions for themselves. And again, leave all the technical stuff to us. And that's the real value add of what TokenSuite adds to the overall process, including many, many other benefits, which we'll get to in the future. So I'll go through a couple of kind of core features of TokenSuite, both on the issuer as well as the investor side of things. So on the issuer side of things, we'll go through their dashboard, how they're able to get quick information at a glance to make fast business decisions and take action as needed. We'll go through how the issuers can manage and onboard their token holders, as well as they're also able to do the compliant onboarding and fund collection. This is going to be a big deal in terms of a huge time saver for people to not have to be involved in hand-holding people as they get onboarded through KYC, AML accreditation, collecting funds from them, etc. And the benefit here, again, if you go through, let's say, a Reg D 506C type of offering, you can get people who are able to invest smaller amounts. But if you have to spend, the average number is 41 days onboarding somebody, that is not sustainable to be able to, to get a bunch of different type of investors. You'd rather get a smaller number of larger investors. But by having an automated process of onboarding people compliantly and not having to be hand holding them through the process, you're able to onboard a lot more people a lot faster, and be able to take advantage of volume of investors doing that. The other side is going to be, the other side I'll walk you through is going to be the investor experience. So what's their dashboard? What information are they able to see on the platform? How they can manage their tokens? And then going back to the issuers, how they're able to handle yield to interest distributions with one click on the platform, which is it's a huge time saver, and it's actually more accurate than some of the more traditional ways of managing this, in addition to speed. So let's give you a walkthrough through TokenSuite. So let's dive into the issuer portal here. So this is the issuer dashboard. When you use, if you're an issue, when you log in, this is what you'll see, and you'll see the information of your assets on the platform, the performance of the valuations of them, the value over time. You'll see what assets have already been minted or already been issued to investors, as well as assets that have not yet been minted. So if you're onboarding a project that's in the fundraising stage, then SolidBlock is not a fundraising company, but we can give you a tool to make fundraising easier for whoever you're working with. And you can keep track of how much money has been raised, and then when you hit the milestone number, move it forward to the tokenization, or the smart contract creation, the token creation phase. We also have this great little wizard, be able to upload and create a new asset on the account. Which really just walks you through everything you need to be able to upload a new asset to the platform. All the documentation you need, information, pictures, whatnot. We actually now have the ability now for you to be able to create your own offering page and edit it as needed. So you have actually full control of your marketing now. And this is active today, and I'll give you an offer at the end of this for anyone who's interested in getting an account right now for free on TokenSuite. But this is a kind of a way to be able to walk you through exactly how to do that and create your own asset. So just go back here, the dashboard. They're also able to see a overview of their investors. So they can see their top overall investors, and if they have multiple projects on the platform, see kind of how that breaks down in terms of the top investors by project. Now, in terms of investors, this is really kind of the first most important thing, because we need to get people on board who are going to give us money. That's important. So the way you do that, and how do you do that, and how do you do that compliantly? So the active investors, when you log in, you can see all of them here. You can see who they are. You can see what assets they're holding, how much they have, and then in terms of onboarding them, we have this great little widget, a great little area here where you can copy an invite link and just email it to them, or you can put it on your social media, or you can give it to a broker dealer who will send it to his list. And then this is a link that sends them over to the offering page, which I'll show you in a moment. But if you have a specific list of investors you actually want to invite, there's two ways to do it. The first is just upload a CSV of people, say who have a list of investors who you want to invite to the project, or you can invite someone individually by putting their name, email, choose what asset you want to give them, send them the invite, and you're done with that. And they'll get added to this onboarding area where you can see now what stage everyone's in. This is actually an important phase to know when people are onboarding, because it shows you where they're at in the onboarding process. It shows you, have they been invited? Have they registered yet? Are they verified? Have they gone through KYC, AML, or has their KYC been denied for whatever reason? To kind of get you a full kind of 360 view on everything that's happening with all your investors as they're being onboarded. But you don't necessarily have to be involved with anyone unless there's a problem. And I'll show you why and how that is in a moment. So let's jump over here now to the person who you just emailed. You just emailed this person, inviting them to your offering. They're going to get an email saying, "Hey, welcome. We just launched this new offering. You can click on this page and check out all the information." And they're going to go over to the offering page, and the offering page is where going to be the marketing hub for everything you're doing with that particular offering. Right? You can include up here your images, your videos, all the text, all the documents, PPM, etc., all here on one page. And from here, what they can do is they're able to go in there. They can just, when they're ready, they can buy their shares right here from the platform. Basically, what they're doing is they're checking out almost like they would on a regular e-commerce store like Amazon. They can go through, select how many tokens they want to invest, be in their checkout, and then they can proceed, and then they'll create an account, and then this is where the system walks them through KYC AML. And I'll just tell you a quick story. I used to work in e-commerce, right? So one of the things that we would do a lot in e-commerce is what we called an abandoned cart email. So if somebody came to our website and put a product in their cart and then left without completing their purchase, we would send them follow-up emails reminding them to come back and complete their purchase. So we have exactly the same thing built into TokenSuite. So if somebody starts the KYC process, it's not just you have to go keep tracking them, that list that I showed you before. They will get automated emails reminding them to come back. Hey, you didn't finish, give us your passport. You didn't finish giving us your tax report, et cetera, until they come in and complete the whole process. And this is kind of an example of what I was saying before, that because the system walks them through the whole process, KYC, AML, accreditation, collecting funds, right? The issuer's hands off. He doesn't have to be involved in this as people are getting onboarded, right? So they're going to go through this KYC. They're going to go through an accreditation check. We have a third party that does these checks. And then when they're done, they're then invited to invest in the project, right? So they're able to invest either with crypto, ACH, send over a wire, or with credit card to be able to send their funds over. This is just a really kind of nice, seamless way when you do bring on an investor to be able to compliantly bring them on board and collect their funds from them. So I'm going to give a quick pause for a second. If anybody has any questions on anything up until this point, feel free to drop them in the chat before we kind of start moving on. All right, so these are accredited investors, not retail, correct? So that's correct. If you're going to be investing in a Reg D 506C, which is generally what we do if you want to get that lower kind of entry point for the investment, they would be accredited investors in the United States. In the United States, we go through an actual accreditation check where they have to put forth their W-2, their tax reports to show they are accredited investors. We then check and confirm it. For international accredited investors, they can just self-accredit. They can self-accredit, it doesn't have to go through a background check. So again, read between the lines there, but that's kind of how the process works here. What if the country of origin does not have any tokenization securities laws regulation? What procedure would be used to prepare the asset for public offering, or would it be even possible? Yeah, so Anderson, so I mentioned this before. So basically what we would do if you are if you would like to tokenize an asset in a foreign or say a non-US country, what you would do is either you would create a company in that country that owns the asset, and then we create the U.S. company that would take ownership of that company. All right, and then the U.S. company is what people are buying tokens in. Depending on, again, the details is something obviously you worked out in your case with the lawyer. What would happen is potentially the U.S. LLC could actually take direct ownership of the asset. So that's generally who's doing it. Who is doing KYC AML? We have a third-party vendor that we work with who has one of the most robust databases in the world, and Solid Token is integrated into their systems to do KYC AML. Can you explain more about the automated dividend tax calculation, or is it not yet automated? So it is automated. I'll actually explain that a bit more when I get to the interest and yield dividend distribution. What's happening is, so let's give a scenario. Let's say you have a user who starts trading the token to somebody else, right? So we have to make sure our cap table is updated to make sure that everything's kosher, right? But because that's done on blockchain, everything is updated almost instantly. Anytime a change happens, anytime something happens, and then the dividend and tax calculation is all done automatically. And at the end of the year, we have a full list of all the transactions for every single LP in the project, which makes it very, very easy to be able to distribute K1s to them, all their information, and of what's needed from a tax perspective. So I hope that answers your question. Did SolidBlock create TokenSuite, or is a third-party service? This is this is our platform. We have a few third parties that we integrate with. Like, again, we integrate with a KYC AML, but what you're talking about here is all built by SolidBlock. what ROI are typical investors seeking as high as possible. No, seriously, like that's not a tokenization question. That's an offering question. I always say it like this: is that the tokenization is a great tool for use of marketing. It's a great tool in terms of administering and making things administering the asset, making things easier for the LPs, giving them fractionalization and liquidity, etc. But in terms of the core asset, like tokenization is not going to impact the overall asset numbers, right? So like tokenization won't save a bad deal. Basically, that's what I'm saying. Like the deal has to be good, and then tokenization adds this whole other layer on top of it. But it's not going to save a bad deal if it's a bad deal. So that's a question obviously that needs to be solved in general. Well, okay, I'm gonna answer the 2-3 more, and then we're jump back into this. How long does the onboarding process take the client? I mean, they can go through the whole thing in 10 minutes. And then depending on a few circumstances, right? So if they're US citizens, they will generally get their KYC AML check back almost immediately. Accreditation can take a couple of days, but generally you were talking about definitely less than a week. International KYC AML can sometimes take a little bit longer because it's international. But we're talking about maximum should be a week, unless there's an issue. Like probably realistically 3 days, but probably unless there's an issue in this case, the issue will be a little bit of a variable there. If you want to sell some enterprise level, can we do this as a white label? Yes, we have this as option as a white label. We actually work with some people on a white label basis who offer this. And one of the things and that's relevant to the next slide I'm going to show you, which is going to be the investor dashboard, and that will just show you that's something that can be fully branded, however you want it to be branded, put on your own domain, etc. How do you run everything international through US-based LLC? So I answered that already. Okay, fine. So I'm going to jump back in here. I'll get to them some more of these questions shortly. Now I'm going to share my screen again. Okay. All right, let's dive into this. Okay, fine. So this is the end of kind of the investor onboarding customer journey. Once they're done with this process, they're going to get a login to the TokenSuite portal on the investor side. And this is what their dashboard will look like when they log in. So they're going to get all the information about the asset in their portfolio. They'll be able to see what is invested, what their P&L is, if they're in any type of a yielding asset or expected dividend distribution. It will give them an estimated calculation of what that number is going to be, the performance over time, and then they can see the specific assets that they are invested in. So from here, they're able to dive in, they can see the asset, and they're able to, again, get more information on here. But also what they can do is if they want to start selling, this is the real benefit for the investors, is the liquidity component. They can take these and they can sell these components. And there's 2 ways they can do this. So the first one is they can basically do something that's over the counter. They can offer it just to other people within the offering and just say, hey, listen, I want to sell 1,000 of my tokens. Who wants to buy them? And they can post this here kind of as like almost an internal bulletin board for other people to invest in. Or what they can do is after that lockup period is completed, will help you get that token onto T0, the exchange, and then with one click they can go to T0, open up an account, and transfer their tokens over there to be able to trade over on T0. So again, going back to like what's happening kind of under the hood when this whole thing happens, is that every time that trade goes on, every time that trade happens, the cap table needs to be updated. And on top of that, also like what you can have in place, there's specific things you want for your particular business. You can put guardrails in place to make sure that, let's say somebody, let's say you're about to sell your asset, right? Technically you don't have to tell people, although it's nice to, that you're going to sell the asset, and they sold the token a day before for less than what the value would have been if they held on to it. So you can have things in place to be able to prevent those types of things. Like someone sells it and resells it, you can make a rule they have to hold it for a quarter, whatever the details are for your business. The point is that the smart contract can be created to create whatever parameters you want to keep control of your token and to keep control of your asset. So the last thing I want to kind of walk you through is a really cool little feature that's built in here, which is the dividend distribution component here, right? So I go back to the story because I think it just makes it, for those issuers and asset owners that have this, it's a big pain point, which is that if you have a yielding asset with a lot of LPs, you have to pay, let's say, every quarter. Let's say your agreement is that you're going to pay them the profit from a rental property every quarter. What one guy explains to me he does, he sits down at the end of every quarter, he calculates his income, calculates his expenses, calculates what the profit is, and then he has to start figuring out the percentage of who owned what, who's owed what, and then he has to start writing checks. The whole process can take him a week to do. And what we have built into TokenSuite here, you still have to calculate right now the P&L for that quarter. But then what you do is you take that profit, that lump sum, you upload it here in one shot to TokenSuite, and then because the cap table is being fully tracked and managed on blockchain, right? Let's say somebody owned the tokens for the first half of the quarter, sold it to person B, right? And then you're going to send the distributions to them. Person A is going to get what he's owed for the amount that he held the token, and person B will hold the amount for that he held for his token. In one click, you're able to send these distributions straight into everybody's wallet, and it's just very seamless and very easy to do. Right within TokenSuite. So that is an overview again of SolidBlock's TokenSuite platform. I wanted to show you a little bit more, kind of some other things you can do once you have. And this is something that we're still working on, but we're working with a partner to enable this within the platform directly, so that people wouldn't even need to we'll be able to direct from the platform onboard onto the service. But basically what it allows you to do is allows you to get a DeFi loan using your tokens. So like now that you have these tokens, and because these tokens are backed by real world assets, they have real value, and these can now be used to as collateral for loans. I'll kind of give you a little bit of an example about how this whole process works. So you have, in this scenario, you have your illiquid asset, whatever that be. That's the house that you're, the building that you're holding. And you have your tokens that are backed by that asset. You can use them as collateral. Right? So you're the asset owner, let's say in this case. You can send them out to a DeFi lending platform. So this is how this works. You send and offer those tokens for DeFi lending, and you say, I want to take a loan using this as collateral. Now, what's going to happen is that this platform now has a large group of people, large group of lenders who are looking to get a return on their investment. They will loan their funds to you, okay, with the terms of the deal baked into a smart contract. And what happens is that the capital will be sent to you. You can now go and do with it what you want. And the smart contract is going to manage the percentage of interest that's paid to lenders with the tokens that's going to be used as collateral. So basically what that means is, like, let's say there's a payment term, you have to start paying back, I don't know, 5% once 6 months start. And let's say you don't get to that point, the smart contract will automatically take your tokens and can now move it to these people, and they can go take it and liquidate it and get their funds back. And you can use this as collateral to be able to get these funds in a way where everyone is covered and safe in a very transparent way. Be able to use this across decentralized networks. It's just kind of very cool usage of blockchain and tokenization and asset-backed tokens to be able to get more funds for maybe additional projects, for maybe something else, etc. So this is the end, and now I'm going to open up the floor for some more Q&A. This moment, I'm going to just close my screen for a moment. Why I do this? There we go. Stop share. Okay, great. So let's do this. I'm going to open up the chat here. See, there's a few questions here, and someone left some questions also in the Q&A section. Right, so but Salo Glazer, how long does the onboarding process take? Right, so it can take about 3 days unless there's a problem. Sometimes it's going to take a little bit longer, or up to a week, or that's whatever. Okay, so let's just go through here. Let's see, what questions did I miss here. How does the investor holder manage the actual token? Okay, this is actually a cool question. So SolidBlock has a baked-in custodial wallet baked into the platform. The reason why we do it this way is because, again, using the iPhone example from before, like the average person knows how to manage their portfolio. They don't necessarily know anything about blockchain. That they have to start dealing with their own private keys, and that being kind of a prerequisite to use this platform. It's going to be, it's not going to work for a good chunk of people. So what we've done is we've built an interface on top of everything, so they don't ever need to know anything about blockchain to be able to hold and manage and to sell off their tokens. And now for those that do want to take self-custody of it, they have the option to be able to send it to their MetaMask or their Coinbase wallet. And that's kind of how that would work. Hold on a second, let's go back. I missed a few. Okay, here's a good question. Right, what is the feedback from clients, users, and stakeholders about tokenization and related ecosystem after this recent explosion on the crypto exchange FTX? Is there a positive reaction or negative, or no correlation at all? I love this question. We have heard nothing from anyone, and the reason why is because really this is not crypto. This is a security token. It's using the same blockchain rails. But again, just like a car could be used to travel across the country to visit your grandmother, somebody could ram somebody else with a car. Like, it's the same vehicle, but it just depends what people are going to do with it. What happened with the FTX scenario was, you have this guy who just created smoke screens, and I'm sure there were some issues with lack of government or whatever. So I'll keep my political opinions to myself. But there's a lot of shady stuff that was happening there, and it's all going to come out. But that's a crypto related thing. And actually, I'll say one of the interesting things that happened there is that there were crypto exchanges supposed to have be owning and selling crypto for people who are buying their exchange or purchasing from their exchange. And they did the audit. They found out that they held 0 Bitcoin on their balance sheet. They were selling thin air, right? Might be one of the biggest scams in history. But that being said, again, what we work in is in the realm of all existing securities laws in the United States. So the entire process of issuing security within existing SEC regulations, only accredited investors are able to purchase from it. We have everything that goes through KYC, AML, as well as the smart contract checks to make sure that everything is transparent and is able to be sent where it's supposed to be. Like, I can't, if I'm holding this token, I can't send it to Joe Schmo out in the boondocks, right? He's got to go. If I'm going to send this over to somebody, he has to go through KYC, AML, know your wallet. We have to know who this person is before we send the tokens over to them. And these can only be traded on security token exchanges. You can't send them to a Coinbase or another type of exchange, only through approved exchanges. So the whole ecosystem, while it is open, there is transparency. It is closed in terms of the options of what they can do to be able to make sure that they're taking action within the existing regulation. All right, who does the crypto conversions of dollars for your crypto payment button? You know what? I actually don't remember the company that does that. I've checked with the dev team, who they work with to do the crypto conversion. Who helps you with the KYC AML? How long does it take for customer? Okay, I already answered that question. The KYC AML. Have you witnessed the case of a token price going up and down for the limit and does not reflect the actual asset price anymore, like people went crazy and selling it? So let's say Aspen. Aspen's a good example. So Aspen took a dip, just like everything took a dip after the COVID crash. It recovered, right? But again, one of the benefits, again, I think is important, a distinction here. Let's say like crypto just crashed, right? Crypto crashed because equities are crashing. Maybe not as much, right? But like that people are pulling their funds out of it, and because like crypto is still, again, it's an emerging asset class, right? It's still in price discovery, exactly kind of what it's worth on the stage. But here, when we're dealing with real estate, right, there's a known like you have the NAV, like there's known ways of evaluating what the price is. So if somebody's willing to sell out at a loss, right? Or I would say sell it, like, great, sell it at a loss. I'll go buy it now for like cheap from them. Like someone else will come in and they'll buy at the lower number, the lower price from them. So again, like the we do have in place that there will be a limit if the asset owner wants it. They can't, let's say, be traded outside, let's say, a 10% up or down window, depending on what they want. But there are guardrails in place. That generally we have not seen any wild swing case like that happening, because again, it's an underlying asset that's there to drive that value. Can this possibly be used for new developments or only existing property? Yes, it can be used for existing and and new developments. As long as you're raising money, as long as you're getting investors, like that's all that's all that you really need. So the TokenSuite platform collects the money on behalf of the investors. Okay, the issuers. So I'll just explain that. So we don't ever actually hold the money. We're facilitating the transfers again. So let's say the wire information. We're just making sure that the wire information gets sent to your bank, right? We give the instructions to go to your bank. Right? It's not we're never holding those funds. We're just facilitating those funds to get sent over to you. Okay, which all-chain platforms are supported by TokenSuite? So again, really the question is, what are we developing on? So we develop on Ethereum and Polygon. What is the white labeling fees or business model arrangements? So the arrangements is generally that you're going to go and we have our setup fees and our costs, and then you'll go and you'll upsell that to your client and then take whatever spread of profit that you want from there. How does the issuer holder manage the actual token? I forget if I answered this one. Basically, they can hold it within the custodial wallet in the Solid token or in the TokenSuite platform. And if they also want to, they can then send it and hold it into their Coinbase or their MetaMask wallets. But again, they can't freely trade it from there. They have to go through a kind of a know your wallet process to be able to approve that wallet. But then they would only be able to send that wallet, those tokens either to somebody else in the offering who is approved, or to approved exchange, or back onto the TokenSuite platform. Okay, let me find one more to do because we're starting to reach the end of our time here. May I get a copy of this recording to references I presented to all the clients? Thomas Shore. Tom, shoot me an email later. When I'm done, I usually send it over to the team to do some editing, and when it's available, I can send it over to you. What kind of assets apart from real estate is in demand for tokenization? Funny enough, I'm starting to see more and more companies tokenizing. They actually like using tokenization to raise funds for their company. All right, cool. All right, fine. So that is, how can we email you? I think you guys all should have been emailed. This webinar presentation, but it's gavi@solidblock.co. If anybody has any questions, feel free to shoot me an email if you want me to send over anything. I just do want to see, oh yeah, I have one more thing to say. Let me just share my screen again for a second. Two things. So two things real quick. Okay, first off, if anybody is interested in tokenizing an asset and is ready to move forward with it, what they can do is they can go to SolidBlock's website. There's a big purple button right there. It's a couple of places on the home screen. Click on there, fill out a short form so we know a little bit about your asset, and then you'll set up a call, probably with me or potentially Yael, to be able to kind of do a discovery call to make sure we get all the right kind of steps and processes available for your asset. The one other thing I will also, and this is okay, we got a good 32 people on here. If there's anybody who wants to, so TokenSuite is live right now. All the features that I just showed you will be coming in the next 2 to 3 months, which is about the amount of time we'll generally need for preparing the legal work for an asset anyways. But what we're able to do today is you're able to onboard your assets, onboard your do fundraising, onboard your LPs, etc. We're actually looking for 5 beta testers who would like to kind of get onto a call with us because we want to get user feedback. So if you want to get started, we'll let you upload your asset and potentially about your investors. We'll see what the details are, but we'll give you something in return for it. For sure, this is going to be a good first step for you getting on board to the TokenSuite platform. So if that's something you'd be interested in, to be able to start seeing in action, getting on board, be able to use that link to be able to send over to people to start fundraising, let me know. Just shoot me an email and we'll arrange a time in the next week or so to be able to do that with our product managers so that we can make sure that we're making sure that we're covering all of our bases on the UX space. Because I always say when it comes to UX, the best way is to get a customer actually who's not involved in the day-to-day details using the product, and then we can see if there's a question, if they're unclear about how to do something, that's why we know to tweak it to make the product even better. So thank you everybody. This has been awesome. If anybody has any specific questions, would like the recording or the presentation, shoot me an email. I may not get to it today or tomorrow, but I'll get to you by early next week as needed. So I'll see you guys all later. Everybody have a great weekend. And you guys have all been awesome. All right, see you guys later.